Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to a very special edition of the Spin Zone. I am your host, Spin Doc, here on behalf of the Daily Bread Network, and we are live with a huge Friday Super Show ready, coming at you very, very soon. So, first things first. Couple things got out of the way here. The show is brought to you on behalf of the Daily Bread Network. And if you are not subscribed to the Daily Bread Network on YouTube, then please go ahead and do that. It really helps us get our content out there, really helps us get all of our stuff out there to you. Please do follow me at Spin Doc Sports if you are not already. And also, please do follow me and also follow, if you're not already, please follow my guy Sharpie, this is normal time we'd be going together. But I know he's taking care of his family right now. So please subscribe to the Odds Bunch on YouTube and at Sharpie's Bets. I've said this over and over and over again. If you follow me and don't follow Sharpie, we can't be friends. So you're going to have to do that. And you're going to have to follow both of us. So now that that's out of the way, normally this is the time when we would talk about what happened yesterday and kind of go through, but we have a lot to get to today. We got a lot of stuff to get through today. So let's skip that part and let's just get right to all the pitchers that we have to talk about today. We got 6 of them for you. And as always, if you're in the chat, if you're just joining us, if there aren't any that we don't cover that you want to have a quick overarching review, please do go ahead and shout that out in the comments. All right. First, the chat. Welcome to the chat. Sharpie in the house. Let's fucking go. The Odds Bunch, man. Sharpie, what's up, my guy? And yeah, Population saying too, I just wanted to take a brief moment before we get going as well to say, yep, thoughts and prayers to Sharpie's family. Hope everything's going well. And we will hold the fort down until you are good to go, my guy. So thank you for joining Population. Adam's Digest, always in the house. Welcome in. Let's go indeed. Eric is always in the house as well. Eric J., thank you so much for joining. Appreciate the kind words. Best in the business. And go get them, man. It's 7 in the morning there or something like that. I think it's 7 in the morning there. So thank you for joining. Go Get 'Em is joining us from the island of Hawaii. So we got some early morning there. And actually, I remembered being in Hawaii and having some baseball games. It was actually really cool because the East Coast game started at like 2 p.m. and all the West Coast games got over, and then you could still go out for the night. So anyways, like I said, we got a lot to get to. So we will just get right down to it here. And what I have for almost all these pitchers is I made the same charts that VIP normally gets, but it's a Friday Super Show. So I'm not going to say that like we're going to be on all of these, but I will share the same charts that I do send out to VIP. For the record too, I make all these charts before the line comes out. I like doing that so then I can compare it to what the line actually is and what the line says to me. So there is no other way to kick off a Friday Super Show than to talk about who I believe is the most dominant pitcher in MLB today. And that, of course, let me get it up here. That, of course, is Mr. Tarik Skubal. Tarik Skubal, the lefty, is just absolutely wiping guys out this year, striking guys out at a 33.9% clip, walking guys. This is even more absurd. At a 3.2% clip. He does not get Miami today. That's my apologies. He gets Seattle today. So he gets the Mariners today, and this game goes at 5:10. We have an absolutely this game goes at 7:10. We have an absolutely sky-high line for Mr. Tarik Skubal today of 8.5. You knew it was going to be high. You knew it was going to be high because of how dominant the guy has been, because of how public he's become. There was no other way to do it. This line could not have been anything but 8.5. If you're at 7.5, you're going to be way too overweight on the under or on the over for this one. So we do have an under 8.5 at a -142. All right. So first things first, when you're playing this, and especially when you're playing this against the Mariners, the over is the only way to look. It's the only thing you can do. The Mariners, the first thing that I look for with Skubal, and what I always look for in his opponents, is the zone contact. Skubal spends 56.3% of his time in the zone. That's 8% above league average, and his zone contact is just absolutely ridiculously good. 73.1. I talk all the time about how anything under 82.6 is league average. Anything under 80 is good. Anything under 75 is really good. 73 is unheard of. So Terry Skubal is mowing guys down. We know this. Now we have an interesting dichotomy here. And here's what I mean. So first things first is that the outs for Skubal is set at an 18.5. And so this is his last start before the All-Star break, before he starts in the All-Star game. And so, there hasn't been any indication that his start would be limited either by pitches or by innings. All of his lines are set what they normally should be at. So you have to assume that you're going to get at least 6, maybe 6.33, or maybe 6+ out of Tarik Skubal. Now, the dichotomy that I want to bring up here is you can see the zone percentage in the upper right at 56.3. You can also see that 5 of the 9 projected Mariners hitters, which right now is 4 lefties, 5 righties, is that they have zone contact under league average. Now, here's the dichotomy, is that you have Rodriguez and Raleigh, who are in the 2 and the 3 hole. They both have zone swing. By the way, for those that have never seen this before, this is swing percentage, zone and chase. So a 1, 0, 1, and -1, -2, so forth. Basically, what it means is that the lower the number is, the lower that hitter swings inside or outside of the zone, and the higher the number is, the more the hitter swings inside or outside of the zone. So you have Rodriguez and Raleigh, who both swing well above league average in the zone. Both of them have zone contact at 78%, which is 4% under league average. Anything under 80 is usually trending pretty bad. And both of them have faced Skubal 6 times and have only struck out once. So we have a conflict here. Now, we also have the other thing that I look for with Skubal is what is a hitter's whiff percentage to a changeup. So Skubal's four-seam fastball, which he can run up to 100, averages has a 28.4% whiff percentage, which is pretty good. The real electric fastball throwers have a four-seam fastball whiff percentage of 30 or higher, so it's still good. But his changeup is just the best in the game. There's just not it's not even a question at this point. Tarik Skubal has the best changeup in Major League Baseball today, and it's not even close. 48.6% whiff percentage. That's almost 23% above league average. It's disgusting. Now, for hitters whiff at a changeup, an average hitter, about 33 to 34%. So you see Rodriguez and Raleigh are in here in that 35 to 36 range, which is probably a factor in why they've only struck out once in 6 plate appearances against Tarik Skubal. Now, that being said, this is a different version of Tarik Skubal than a lot of hitters who have seen him this year are used to. So I have to mark them both up for 1. What I can't do, and where the danger for me lies in trying to take an over on this one, is that with the past history and with the lower whiff percentage to the changeup, I can't really get there with to say, are one of these guys going to strike out twice? Could they? Of course they could. It's Tarik Skubal. Of course they could. It's the Mariners. Could they strike out twice? I don't know. I'll come back to that in a second. Next, we have Randy Arozarena. Randy Arozarena doesn't swings below average in the zone, which you don't want to do. And the reason why I say that is you look down here in the bottom right, and you see that Tarik Skubal has a 44.6% strikeout percentage when he gets ahead in counts. If you're going to take against a pitcher who throws 56% of the time in the zone, what are you going to do? And put yourself behind in counts. It's no surprise that Arozarena, even in past iterations of Skubal, has struck out 7 out of 18 times. I have him down as a 1+. And what I mean by 1+ is that he'll strike out once for sure. You might be able to get a second one. I've said this before on the show. I've said it with Sharpie. I've said it everywhere. It's really, really hard for me to predict a guy to strike out twice, even if it's like Chris Taylor against Tarek Skubal, for example, or against Zach Wheeler, so on and so forth. It's hard for me to predict a guy to strike out twice. So what I do is I add a 0.25 kicker and do add the plus. So anyways, so I have Arozarena down for 1+. Polanco has really good history against Skubal. He's also got good zone contact. His whiff percentage against a changeup isn't terrible, but he has got him 5 times, so I got to put him at a half because he is a low strikeout guy. Did face him back a couple times too when he was with the Twins, so there's some familiarity. Luke Raley has never faced him. This is the guy where if you want a hitter prop and you want to bet on a guy if he's in the lineup to strike out twice, I wouldn't go Rodriguez or Raleigh. I would go Luke Raley. The reason why is because he swings a ton in the zone, has zone contact 12% under league average. He is a 1+ for sure. I almost thought about putting him at a 1.5, and I never put guys at a 1.5 ever. He also whiffs to a changeup 53% of the time. If Luke Raley is in the lineup, and especially if he's batting in the top 6, I would look for a prop, and I'm going to bring it up right now on DraftKings about if you can. I don't know if it's out yet though until the lineups are out. If you can get Luke Raley to strike out twice, it might be worth a half unit on it because all of these metrics say that Skubal is going to torch him. Now, the rest of the lineup, Canzone and Williamson, both of them, as you can see, have elite zone contact. Both of them, well, one of them, I guess, has elite whiff percentage against a changeup. You're probably looking at 1, maybe 1.5 between these two. And then you get down to Young, who hasn't faced him and has terrible zone contact. So I got to put him at a 1+. Guys, I'm not saying that Tarek Skubal can't go out and get 9 tonight. I'm not even saying that he's not gonna. What I'm saying is there are enough spots in this lineup with Crawford, with Polanco, and with, even though he hasn't faced him before, with Canzoni. There's enough spots in this lineup where you have to look at it and you have to say, is he going to get Rodriguez or Raleigh twice? Or is he going to get Raley, Young, and maybe a Arozarena twice? Could he do it? Yes. But my drawback and my limitation always with sky high K props like this is that nothing can go wrong. Virtually nothing can go wrong. And if even the slightest thing goes wrong, if he has a long inning, if he has if they get a couple of hits, if his pitch count gets wrong, if he comes up with like a blister on his finger, whatever the case might be, is that this prop can be DOA. And then you're starting to look at, do I take a live line to chase? Again, I'm not saying that you should shy away from Tarek Skubal. If you're betting this, over is the only way to go. What I'm saying is that when you look at the past history, there is a dichotomy here that does not suggest that Rodriguez or Raleigh will strike out twice. So then what you have to hope for, then what you need Skubal to get one of the guys. You need him to get a Crawford. You need him to get a Polanco. You need him to get a Canzoni, or you need him to get multiple other guys 2+ times. Can it happen? Of course it can. So I'm going to wait for the lineup to be confirmed. It would help if we had like a Bill Miller type umpire or Lance Barrett or one of those pitcher-friendly umpires. But what I'm coming up with for this one is, in most cases, I'm coming up with 8. I'm coming up with 8 with the potential for 9. The bet that I like more for Skubal in this one is twofold. Number one is I like Skubal. I like his hits under 4.5. It's still it's middle juice, -140. And I especially, if he's in the lineup, and especially if he's in the top 6, I like Luke Raley to strike out 2+ times. Luke Raley to strike out once is probably going to be ridiculously bad odds, but Luke Raley to strike out twice. That would be the guy that I would lean on to strike out twice. If you want to take 2 guys to strike out twice against Tarek Skubal, I would look at Raley and I would look at Arozarena. Those are the 2 that I would look at because of their position in the lineup. So again, it's not that I don't like Skubal tonight, and Skubal is always a potential candidate for an over, but they are making it really, really ugly to try to bet him even at the plus money. Under, paying a juiced under for Tarek Skubal at home, nope, you can't do that. It's just not an option. Don't do it. You'll thank me later. All right, that will do it for Tarek Skubal. So the next guy is pitching in a game that I'm going to double check here, but I might be going to. So we have Mr. Paul Skeens. And the righty is striking guys out at a 27.8% clip, and he is walking guys at a 6.7% clip. And at 8:10 tonight, he gets the Twins. He gets the Twins in a big night here in Minneapolis. We got it's Byron Buxton bobblehead night. It's Paul Skeens versus Joe Ryan, who you're going to hear about next. And it's also Nelly is live in concert after the game tonight. So like I said, I actually am pretty sure I'm going to be at this one. So Paul Skeens. All right, before we get into anything with metrics and whatever, and shout out to Berg if you're watching at work, because he turned us on to this in VIP a couple weeks ago, is that Skeens has been somewhat limited by the Pirates pitching staff, and he has been limited when it comes to either pitches or to innings. You can see it in his pitch count. 78, 88, 78 over his last 3. Has not gotten out of the 5th inning in any of them. Has only gotten out of the 5th inning once in his last 5 starts, and that was when he was dominating against the Tigers. Now, in his last start before the All-Star break, before it's either going to be him or it's going to be Wheeler, who starts for the NL, is that are they going to let him go 100 plus pitches and then go have the All-Star hoopla and then come back and probably be the guy to start right after the All-Star break? That ain't happening with this guy. That ain't happening with this team. So you have to look. So you have to think that with this number, because right now his outs are at a 17.5. So it's however long he can go and without starting an inning after 85 pitches. That's the trend they've been following. That's what the team has been following. And that's what you should expect tonight. So if you're thinking Paul Skeens is going to throw 110 pitches and is going to pitch this like just crazy game and they're going to ride him till the end in a game against the Twins right before the All-Star break, before he goes there, that ain't going to happen. So you're going to have to so if you want 7 strikeouts, which is what the line is at right now, if you want the over, you're going to need 7 strikeouts in probably 5 innings, maybe 5 1/3. So I would not, the one that I like for Skeens the most right now is his outs under. Right now, you can get that at Caesars at 17.5 at -106. And it's for all the reasons that I just mentioned, is that has only gotten out of the 5th inning one time, has only thrown more, or has thrown more than 90 pitches just once in his last 4 starts. And with this being the last start before the All-Star break, I don't really see it happening. And population saying, yeah, it was odd that Skeen didn't come back out with 78 pitches. It's how they're managing him. It's how they're managing his innings, and it's probably how they're going to do it for at least his first few starts after the All-Star break, is that they're probably not going to start him in an inning where they would feel that if he pitched the next full inning, he would go over 90 pitches. Again, I don't have any quotes or anything like super insight into the Pirates, but I have seen managers do this before. I've actually seen the Pirates do this before, and this is what they usually do, is that it'll be 5 innings, or it will be if the next inning would take him over 90 pitches, you're done. You're done and you're off the stage. And that's probably what we're going to see tonight. So the question then becomes, can he get 7 strikeouts in that period of time? Now, can he against this lineup? Maybe. Maybe. This is going to be very, very lineup dependent because Skeens does dominate in the zone, 50% of the time in the zone, allowing only 78% zone contact. I talked to you about how anything under 80 is considered very good. And but you only have 3 Twins hitters that are under league average in zone contact. You have Buxton, you have Wallner, and you have Clemens. Now I'm going to wait to see what the final lineup is for the Minnesota Twins for this game. If you're wanting an over on Paul Skeens, you're going to need to get Correa, Lee, or Jeffers out of there. It's going to be really hard, I think, to hit that in some of the constraints that he's going to have put around him, I believe, and has been by his manager and by his team. So Minnesota Twins have been very, very good at making zone contact. You have to look at past the strikeout percentage, and you also have to understand that they have faced a number of pitchers that have a lot of chase and that make guys miss when they chase. You can see that only 3 are under for zone contact, 5 are under for chase contact. So that can lead to a lot of strikeouts. But if you want the over for this one, Correa, Lee, or Jeffers, you got to get one of them out of there, because if they're not, I think that 7 is a tough hill to climb in what's probably projecting to be a 5-inning start or an 85-pitch start. So you still have Buxton up top, who he'll probably face 3 times, and I'm sure he'll get once. I don't necessarily know if he'll get him twice, but I think he'll for sure get him once. I also think he'll get Larnach once. I think Wallner he'll get once. The reason why Wallner, even though his zone contact is absolutely atrocious, and his whiff percentage to a fastball, which is obviously one of Skeen's best pitches, the reason why it's not 1.25 and why it's not higher is because I don't know if he's going to face Wallner 3 times. If Wallner bats this low in the lineup, I don't know if he'll face Wallner 3 times, especially with the constraints that I talked about earlier. So if he faces him twice, it's really hard to project that a guy's going to see a pitcher twice and strike out both times. It happens, but it's hard to project. Same thing with Clemens at the bottom, is that his strikeout percentage recently has been gaudy. He also has zone contact right about league average. He's ripe to strike out once, but when you add all this up, it's adding up to 6 max. And so if I thought for any second that Paul Skeens would be given no leash and could go 100 plus pitches and go until he's unable to go anymore, etc., 7 would be a very, very fair bar to clear. Under these circumstances, I'm just not so sure. And I'm not sure because I don't know how long he's going to be out there. And the only hitter really that is a multiple strikeout candidate that he's going to face more than 2 times for sure under these circumstances is Byron Buxton. To ask a guy to get 7 with that much zone contact elsewhere in the lineup, it's a tough hill. It's a tough hill. Sharpie in here saying with the All-Star break Monday, the pen's got to be used. Yep. Sunday is when guys get pulled after 5 or 6. Yep. Listen to this man. Listen to my guy Sharpie here. You have to understand too that guys that are going to the All-Star game, especially pitchers that are going to the All-Star game, is that it's very, very common for a guy to get limited in his last start before the All-Star game. And it has nothing to do with anything, but you also got to remember a lot of these guys are going to get like 5-6 day break where they get to rest, recharge, etc. Guys that are going to the All-Star game, they have to not only play, but they also have to do all the pre-events, all the media stuff, all the everything. And then right after it's over, then they got to come back and contribute to their team. So you're asking a lot of these guys. So any chance that these managers can get to give these guys a break, still obviously trying to win games, et cetera, but trying to give these guys a break right before the ASB, they're going to do it. And I think that Skeens is ripe to have that happen. So what I like most for Skeens, I don't know if I like the under yet for strikeouts. It's going to depend on the lineup. It's especially going to depend on where Wallner bats in the lineup. So because if you're going to go like Buxton, Larnick, and Wallner in your like three of your top four, then it's probably going to be a stay off for me because any of those guys can strike out twice. Now, the one that I like, if the projected lineup is used, the one that I like the most is Skeen's outs recorded under 17 and a half, probably through no fault of his own. All right. All right. So the next pitcher that we have to talk about would be the other side of that game. You have a fellow all-star in Joe Ryan. Joe Ryan, the righty for the Twins, striking guys out at a 28.6% clip, walking guys at a 5.2% clip. He gets Pittsburgh, obviously, same game, same time, etc. And you have a line of 6.5 at minus 138 and an under at a plus money plus 108. Now, with Joe Ryan, is that based on where I see his outs prop at the moment, is that it's much more likely to me that Joe Ryan goes 6+ innings than it is Paul Skeens. I don't necessarily think that the Twins are going to limit him. I think if he gets in trouble late and or starts showing signs of fatigue, he'll get pulled. But I think as long as he's still good to go, I think that they will let him go. Now, the thing about Joe Ryan is he spends almost as much time in the zone as Tarek Skubal. You see it here in the upper right, 54.8%. And so I always look for zone swing and zone contact with Joe Ryan because even when he gets, but more so contact, because even when Ryan gets ahead, you see the 38.4% when he gets ahead of a batter. Most pitchers you see, I mean, you saw it for Skubal, you saw it for Skeens, are over 40, and some, like Mackenzie Gore, are near 50%. So 38.4% might seem good. It's not as good as you might think it is. So taking strike one against Joe Ryan isn't always the be-all, end-all, but what I'm looking for more is the zone contact. And so of this projected lineup right now, which is 3 lefties and 6 righties, is that we do have 3 guys that are under in zone contact. And so those being Cruz, Reynolds, and McCutchen. So you have to mark each of those up for a strikeout. Now, he's in the projected lineup, but I got to give a shout out to Berg again because he did point out that because Skeens is pitching, even though Bart's in the projected, this catcher is probably going to be Henry Davis. And if you want an over on Joe Ryan, having Henry Davis in for Joey Bart is not what you want because Davis is a higher zone contact guy and also doesn't have a 43.5% strikeout percentage over his last 15. So you want to make sure who is the catcher in this lineup. The other thing here is that we do have a couple like Tarek Skubal, kind of like the opposite of what we had for Skubal, where we have a guy like Brian Hayes, who is 87% zone contact, is patient in the zone, doesn't whiff to any of the pitches that Ryan throws, but has struck out all 3 times against him. So what do you do with a guy like that? I hedged in the middle and put 0.75, meaning that it's probably likely that Ryan gets him, but understand that his metrics say that he shouldn't strike out. The same would go, the same thing would go here for, actually, no, I think that he was the only one that would apply to. So Brian Hayes is an interesting case for this one because he has great metrics, but Ryan's got him all 3 times. Spencer Horwitz is another interesting one because he does have pretty good zone contact, but also has a ridiculous 60% whiff rate to a sweeper. And actually, if you go back over the last few years, it's not 60%, but it's bad. It's bad, which is Ryan's main out pitch. But his contact metrics say maybe not so much. So I'm coming up with this one being exactly at 6.5. And so I'm not exactly sure if this one has enough value at the minus 130 to take it. And I'm glad that Sharpie brought it up because I was going to say this next. Joe Ryan is also on the trade block in a showcase game. I don't know if they push him for extra being in a talk of trades. Boston is looking like the favorite to land him. That is absolutely true. He is on the trade block. We are not, when I say we, because I'm from Minneapolis, we are not going to be buyers. We are more than likely going to be sellers. And Ryan probably is the most likely guy to get traded, especially because he is on a 1-year deal. So his deal expires after this year. And the rumors are that the Twins weren't going to sign him to the kind of money that he wanted for a long-term deal. The Twins are also in the process of being sold. And so then the question becomes, how much is management really going to spend when you're in the process of selling the team? So Joe Ryan is almost a lock to be moved before the trade deadline for MLB, and population saying the exact same thing, saying only concern is rumors of him being on the trade block. Yep. Population and Sharpie got it right. So with a guy on the trade block, are they going to just let him go and just say, you're going to give us all you got and you're going to showcase yourself? The flip side of that is, what if you do that and God forbid something happens to his arm and now his trade value is tanked? So I'm probably going to be out entirely on Joe Ryan. I think that if you gave me a free play on this one, what I would probably take is I would take a slight lean on the under for this one. But overall, I think that there's a lot of question marks, and especially if and presumably when Henry Davis is announced as the catcher for Skeens instead of Joey Bart, is that what that probably means is that would take him out of play. So from this game entirely, what I like a lot more is I do like Skeens' outs in this one the most out of any of the pitcher props for this one. Kid Keon, welcome in, saying thoughts on Webb and Cabrera. I will cover Webb at the very, very end, but you made a really good segue, because we will move on to Edward Cabrera. Edward Cabrera, the righty, striking guys out at 24.5%, walking guys at a 9.2% clip. He gets the Orioles today. He gets the Orioles, who have been obviously a team that you can pick on for strikeouts, and we get a line of 5.5, pretty much evenly juiced both ways. So Eddie Cabrera. The one thing about Cabrera that I've seen both in his metrics and just watching him pitch is that you're gonna need he needs chase, and he needs lack of chase contact in order to be effective from a strikeout perspective. So lo and behold, in this projected Orioles lineup, which is 5 lefties and 4 righties, even though he's not K'ing lefties that well on the road, only at 22.7%, as you can see up here, is that you do have 7 Orioles that are under when it comes to chase contact. The only ones in the lineup that are over league average in chase contact are O'Hearn and Ced Mullins. And so even if you take those two out as dead spots, now the question then becomes, will they chase? And so, as I said over here in the swing area, what you have is you have the percentage of a time compared to league average that a guy swings or doesn't swing in and outside of the zone. And what you have with the Orioles is that you have all 5 of them chase at or below, or at or above league average. And so that's a good mix for us. So if we get this projected lineup, for example, just going down the list, you have Holiday, who chases a little bit below the average, but his chase contact is horrendous. So you got to put him for a half. Westberg, very, very similar. Gunnar Henderson, very, very similar. O'Hearn does make good chase contact, so you got to put him at a potential dead spot. Then it gets fun. But if they're going to run Laureano, Causer, and O'Neill, is that even though Laureano doesn't chase, his lack of contact pretty much everywhere, to me, leads me to believe that Cabrera can get him. So I have 3 coming up here from these 3 spots, and I also have 1 at the bottom from Stallings, who he's also gotten 2 out of 5 times. So what all this adds up to for me is this adds up to 6 for me. And so if this is the lineup that the Orioles want to run, this is a look on the over here. And Cabrera, even though Cabrera's outs are only projected at 15 and a half, he's been at 15 and a half pretty much the most of the year. Now his earned runs are up from his last 2 starts, and it's only slightly juiced to the under. Just something to be aware of, because he was at a 1.5 against the Twins and the Brewers. Now he's up at a 2.5. But for me, what I'm really looking for with that is I'm looking for what his walks are going to be, because for a guy who so far this year has had, with the exception of his last 2 games, prior to that he had 5 games in a row, 5 games in a row where he walked 2+ guys. Right now his walks are set at an over 1.5. Heavily juiced towards the over, which would indicate 2. In games where he's walked 2 or more guys, he has gotten 5+ strikeouts in every single one of those. So it's not that the 2 are tied together. Now, I know the line is 5.5, but if you're going to give me 5.5 or 5 strikeouts against a team that is a much better swinging and contact team, like the Nationals, like the Rays are better, like Philadelphia is better, and now you're going to give me that exact same situation against the Orioles, this is an overlook for me if they run this projected lineup. If you really, really want the over, the 2 that you don't want in is you don't want O'Hearn in and you don't want Mullins in. Those are the only 2 that I think could be potential dead spots, because both chase at league average or less, and both have above average chase contact, which is what Cabrera needs. It's especially true because the main pitch that he throws in the zone is his sinker. And a sinker, you can see that he only generates an 8.7% whiff percentage on his sinker. A sinker really isn't a put away pitch. It's a pitch to set up for ground balls. It's a pitch to get foul balls for strikes. Really, a lot of the time, the whole point of a sinking fastball is that you throw it high in the zone, and so it starts sinking down, and hitters swing over the top of it and hit down, which induces ground balls. That's the main point of throwing a sinker. It's not really a strikeout pitch. It's especially not a strikeout pitch for Cabrera. His curve is one of his main put away pitches, and you need guys to chase on that one to get him, and there are more than a few in this lineup that does. So if this is the lineup that we get, this is a look on the over 5.5 for Cabrera. It's especially an overlook if either Mullins or O'Hearn are out. Guys that could be out that might cause me to reconsider, just if they are: O'Neill, Causer, Stallings. Those are the 4. Those are the 4 that I want for sure. And then the 2 that I don't want, even though I'm sure we're going to get them, are O'Hearn and said Mullins. So that's where we are at with Edward Cabrera. I would for sure wait for the lineup on this one, and I would just make sure that there are enough chasers in this lineup to make it worth your while. All right, we will move on. And we will move on to a guy who was my fucking arch nemesis last year, and a guy that actually, for those of you that are in VIP or that heard me on shows, I actually talked about endlessly, because he got his own list. And the list that he was on was named after him, because it was a guy that no matter what it was, what the line was, what anything was, I wasn't betting him. And it didn't make a difference. He was on the Rodon list, Carlos Rodon. Now, it's gotten better this year, and we've actually cashed, I think, 3 or 4 times on Rodon, or 3 times I know for sure on Rodon this year. So he's made up for it. But Carlos Rodon, the lefty, does get the Cubs tonight, striking guys out at a 28.3% clip, walking guys at an 8.9% clip. And yeah, Sharpie said it right away, Rodon. Of course it's Rodon. Fucking asshole. But he gets the Cubs tonight, and we have an interesting line. We have a dichotomy again. We have a contrast, and I'll explain what I mean in a second. 5.5 at minus 118 and an under 5.5 at minus 108. All right. So you look at what the Cubs are as hitters and you compare it to what Carlos Rodon is as a pitcher. And you have Carlos Rodon, who spends 45.3% of his time in the zone. That's almost 3% under league average. And so typically he needs guys to chase to get strikeouts. And typically when guys don't chase, especially when lefties don't chase, he don't strike them out. He's also coming off of a couple really bleh strikeout performances where he hasn't had more than 5 in 3 straight games. And those couple things. Those 3 have been on the road, and those 3 have been against some hitters that he has very poor strikeout history against. So keep this in mind as we go through this one. Now, we look at the Cubs, and by the numbers, the Cubs only have 2 guys in the projected lineup. Nico, who's not a strikeout candidate to begin with, and Pete Crow, who always is, that chase above league average. Shaw at the bottom is right around league average, but other than those guys, there is no chase in this lineup. So you would be thinking, okay, this has to be an underlook, right? But then you go to past history and you look at this past history and you see Ian Happ doesn't chase, Justin Tucker doesn't chase, and Rodon's got him a combined 10 times in 24 plate appearances. I mean, he's got a 30% strikeout rate against Justin Tucker, who last 15 he struck out under 10%, and he also has a season strikeout percentage of like 15% or less. So that doesn't match up. You have Seiya Suzuki, who has a terrible chase contact rate, is striking out a lot lately, and has high whiff percentages against Rodon's put-away pitches. He struck out 1 out of 8 times. This is what capping Carlos Rodon does to you. So, and this is what capping Carlos Rodon does to me, right? It's like that Julia Roberts math gif where like all the numbers are running because everything contrasts each other. Everything contrasts each other. And it's been kind of the case with Rodon in spots where he's projected to go out and just smack to piss the bed. And in spots where he's projected to not do very well, he smacks. So you go down the list even further. Carson Kelly doesn't chase, has a sparkling chase contact, 61.3%. That's 6% above league average. It's actually top 15% in all baseball. Striking out 11% in the last 15, struck out 5 out of 12 times against Rodon. Everything contrasts each other. Dansby Swanson doesn't chase, doesn't make contact when he does. This one kind of matches up because I would expect Dansby Swanson to K against Rodon. Pete Crow hasn't faced him, same thing. He's even gotten Nico Horner multiple times, who's the ultimate contact guy. So there's a lot of contrast here, and what they're saying is that they're throwing the past history out here, because if you put Rodon in a spot where his projected outs are 17.5, which is where they've been pretty well consistently, and a number that he's about 50-50 to in his last 10, and you give him nobody that chases, right? That's what they're saying that the number is set on. If you say that, okay, he's facing a team where in 78 plate appearances, he's got a 35.9% strikeout rate, that number should be a 6.5. It can be juiced heavily on the over. It should be a 6.5 with minus 140, minus 150. So they're throwing past history out here and going by what the metrics are right now and what Rodon has been doing recently. So what does this mean, and where do we look for Mr. Rodon? And I see Sharpie. If the books don't listen to past history, so should we. Yep, I would agree with that. And Sharpie also saying, heard a stat about Wilson from, I'm sorry. Let's see. Sorry. Solo Fire saying, Sharpie and Spin, you rock. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate you. And Adams Digest saying, I bet the Cubs team total under tonight. They haven't touched a lefty in 2 weeks. Yep. And yep. if the books aren't the books aren't paying attention to past history on this one. They're saying that 35.9% isn't going to matter tonight. So I'm going to wait to see what the final projected lineup is. I did have a slight lean on the over when I ran this last night. Now it's probably looking like it's just going to be a stay away spot because there's a lot of contrast right here. There's a whole lot of contrast, especially with what Adam said about the Cubs being very, very poor against lefties over the last few weeks. So maybe a hits allowed hits allowed under might be a better way to look at it. So Carlos Rodon, my good buddy. All right. We're going to move on, and we're going to move on to Berg did say it. Rocky's lineup is out when you get to the public darling of the day. Oh, yes. Oh, my God. What in the hell? Nice line. Chase Burns, last but not least. And actually the only one where for some reason the picture of the chart that I made for him didn't save. So we're just going to go without that. Chase Burns, righty, striking guys out at 30.6%, walking guys at 12.2%. He gets the Rockies tonight. And at least leading into this show, we had this is just dumb. We had an over 5.5 at minus 225. Who fucking bets that? We had an under 5.5 at plus 172. Okay, first I'm going to speak on this line. Is that if this is around what the line ends up being, and you have any capper on Twitter that has like their play of the day or max unit whale or whatever they talk about, and it's a minus 225 K prop, they can go fuck themselves and they don't know what they're talking about, and you should unfollow them and you should point them to this clip and then come see me. Tell them why they don't know what they're talking about. You're not going to bet a minus 225 prop. You shouldn't do it, period. End of story. Don't do it. I don't care who it's against. Now, if you are going to play Chase Burns, if you watch my show with any regularity, you know that I have what's called no under island, and the Rockies are on no under island. So we are only going to play the over here, but we're not looking at playing a 5.5. Now I do see it's gone to 6.5 in some places, and actually it's gone to a 6.5, pretty juiced in at least on DraftKings and on FanDuel with this Rockies lineup, which is, because I know it just got released, which is right now 3 lefties and 6 righties. And as it usually is the case with the Rockies, the majority of the lineup is poverty. The majority of the lineup has a whole bunch of strikeout potential. Now, the thing you have to look for, though, is are there enough spots in this lineup where, especially with zone contact, because that's where Burns does operate with his absolutely blistering, blazing fastball, where you have where you can get enough whiff for him to get this, because his outs prop, which has been at a 14 or 15.5, is now up at a 16.5. So it would indicate a pretty good start. But what I see here in this actual lineup is are there 7 strikeouts out there? Of course there are. The only 2 guys that I see in this projected lineup that I think might be tough to get would be Freeman and would be Farmer. Those are the only 2. High zone contact, decent swing discipline. Every other person in this lineup is the potential for a strikeout. So I'll make it real super easy for you. Is that you're playing the over or you're playing nothing. However, what Sharpie's saying now, the line says 6 exactly at that juice. Yeah, at the minus 225 juice, that's what they're saying. With the lineup coming out, I think that they are saying that there's a potential for 7. But when you get a 6.5 here for this kid, and you also have a guy who hasn't gotten out of the 5th inning in any of his starts. The other thing is he also hasn't thrown more than 88 pitches in a start. I posted this when he was going to be in Fenway facing the Red Sox, and people were like, ladder him. Oh my God, ladder him to 5 million strikeouts. No, this kid hasn't thrown more than 90 pitches in a start. They're babying this kid. At the first sign of trouble, they're going to get him out. Now, is he going to face trouble tonight? Maybe not. I mean, the Rockies lineup obviously has proven that they're pretty bad, but this is one where what I would probably look to do is one of 2 things. Is that number one is you can always pass on it. Number two is I might take it down to 6 and pair it with something else that you like that you can take down as well, and you can get a little fun plus money parlay. That's what I would do with Chase Burns. The 7, even against this Rockies lineup, is in the number of pitches that he's thrown this season, which even when you go back to the minors, he hasn't thrown, the time he spent in the minors this year, he hasn't thrown more than 91 pitches. So he also has only gotten out of the 5th inning a couple times. And so they're projecting with the outs that he might tonight, but there's a lot of risk involved here. And with a kid like this, is that at the first sign of trouble, you have to know that they're probably going to look to pull him. They are going to baby this kid. So I'm not telling you that you shouldn't go bet the over for Chase Burns, but I'm just telling you that this thing finally went to a 6.5 after the public all day was on the stupid ass minus 200 for the over. What, minus 170? I think is what it opened at. Happened all freaking day, and it finally went to 6.5. I don't know if I can get there. I don't think I'm going to be able to get there with Burns. I think I'm just going to watch and take a free lesson for him. All right, we got other looks, sides, and totals today. We got a few comments here coming, and Sharpie saying, "Yep, it's plus money or nothing. Pull down." Yep, that's exact. Yep, I agree with Sharpie 100%. Is that pull them down, and pair them with something else that you like to get plus money. It's just there's a lot of risk for right now. The best price for over 6.5 is BetMGM is the slowest to react usually to line movement. Minus 105 is what they're hanging. Everybody else like DK and FanDuel are at minus 160, minus 158. I'm not doing that. I'm not paying that juice. Especially not when it opened at a 5.5 and they wouldn't move it to 6.5 at all. So I'm not doing that, and I would advise you to not do that either. We have RJ3 Gaming, welcome in. Thank you, saying Logan Allen under 16.5 outs. Maybe. I thought that one was pretty correct. I would actually potentially the only thing I'd be worried about there is that to have him potentially eat up innings because it's a double header. But I personally think that his outs are set exactly where they should be. And RJ3 Gaming says under 16.5 for Burns. You could. I think with every team playing tonight, there's probably more value betting that's available than to take than to try to go on the Rockies, even against the kid. But just know that it's been what the Reds have done all year, even in the minors. First sign of trouble, they're pulling them and they're babying them. And so just don't be surprised if it does happen. Kid Keon, coming back to your question, Webb over 5.5 Ks. I think that Webb is probably set exactly where he should be. I think that if you are going to play anything there, you can probably, 5 exactly is kind of where is everything that I've come up with Webb. I know he's been on a K streak lately, including against a divisional opponent, but the Dodgers in multiple spots during the last few years have been his kryptonite, including the first time they played where he only got 4. That was at Dodger Stadium where he's had less success, but still 4 is 4 is what he got last time. 5, I think if you want to put 5 with something, maybe it's like Burns at 6+ and Webb at 5+, something like that might work. I'm not a massive fan of playing the K's straight up. Let's see. I think that will do it for anything in the chat. Let's go to other looks, other analysis, other stuff, stuff I like today. These are just leans that I have, and for those that watch the show, you know that whenever I give out leans, it's only plus money lines when I do it. I think in the first game of the day, the White Sox have a little bit of value at plus 105. I think other money lines that I was looking at, the Rangers have a little bit of value at plus 106, And I think that was about it. That was about it for money lines. For totals, a couple totals that happened to catch my eye were Orioles Marlins under 9 as a lean. The Cubs and Yankees over. Yankees team total over is also a little interesting. Same thing with the Mets and Royals over 9.5 would also be another look that I would have for a lean. All right. All right, I think we covered a lot today. Covered a lot today. So I want to thank everybody for joining, everybody for all the insight in the chat. Want to run down everybody to say thank you again. Thank you to Sharpie. Prayers to your family again, my guy. All the best. And everybody, please do the same. Adams Digest, Eric, Propulation, go get them. Kid Keon, Solo Fire, Berg, RJ3, and I think I got them all. All right, so thank you so much. This show is brought to you on behalf of the Daily Bread Network on YouTube. Please, if you're not already, subscribe to the Daily Bread Network. Also, subscribe to the Odds Bunch, Sharpie's channel. Follow me at SpinDoc Sports, and if you don't follow Sharpie already, you got to at Sharpie's Bets. And Slim in the house. Thank you for joining, Slim. Thank you to you as well, and appreciate you, Population. Thank you, thank you. So please give us a follow, give us a like, smash the like button, and we will be back with you on Monday. Back with you on Monday with another edition of the Spin Zone, back to our normal 3 pitchers. And I will post any other looks, leans, takes, etc. that I have on X throughout the weekend. Best of luck with everything you are tailing. We'll talk to you then.